I just want the sound. I want the O on the truth. My name is Alfred Selwell, a former professional football player, turned personal trainer, turned health and wellness coach, and now on a spiritual journey that has been enlightening. Yes, today, following from my last video, when we spoke about the number one thing that's needed in order to achieve your fitness goals, what is the number one thing you need to be aware of when it comes to nutrition, to food. We all love food, right? It's an imperative part of being a human being. We need fuel for energy, and that fuel comes in many delightful ways. But when talking about food, where do we start? What's the most important thing? For me, the most important element when it comes to nutrition, whether you like it or not, is calories. Oh yeah, those calories. Now people have a mixed opinion and view about calories, and I understand why. You know, a calorie is just a unit of energy. You know, it's how we calculate our energetic output, right? We burn calories all day long. Our body, just to breathe, just to digest food, just to think, you know, your organs, for them to function, they all need energy. They're all using energy. And at the end of the day, if you look at a 24-hour period, your body will burn a certain amount of calories. Now, if we know that, then it'd be good to say, okay, if our body is burning a certain amount of calories a day, then do we know how many calories we burnt in a day? Would you be able to know? Would you be able to hazard a guess on how many you burnt on any particular day? Given that every day is unique, right? Every day of our lives is slightly different. There might be commonalities, indeed, you know? And we all do a lot of the same things, but not always in the same way. Life doesn't affect us exactly the same way every day. You know, even stress. When your heartbeat increases, when you're stressed and your eyes dilate and your blood pressure goes up, guess what? You're probably burning more calories. When you think you're burning more calories. At the deepest level, you can't really look past them. At the fundamental level, it's there. It's what's happening. It's the unit we measure energy. To get fucking used to it. Do you get what I mean? And I say this because human beings seem to, some, struggle with this concept. But accept it. You know? What is it? Are all calories equal? And stuff like that. Let me talk about consumption first. We burn those calories, right? So calories out, what we burn. Then we eat food, which gives us calories, right? And at the end of the day, what we put in on a calorific value and what we burn will leave us with a number. Okay? So I burnt 3,000 calories in one day, but I ate 2,500 calories. Guess what? I'm in a 500 calorie deficit, right? Oh, my arm. Good work, you know, for the biceps. Come on. Wait, where are they? You know? I'll be in a calorie deficit. I'll be in a 500 calorie deficit. Now, over time, if you're keeping in a deficit, you lose weight. That's how it goes. That's the number behind it. You know? And those calories that we put in, they can come from a myriad of sources, right? Now, for me, once we know that, calories in, the food we eat, calories out, the energy we burn, to walk, to move, to do our daily tasks, plus just to function, this human body, for it to function, burns calories, then I think you fundamentally got to accept that, right? After that, it's up to you how you deal with whatever you want to do with food, whatever your goals are when it comes to training or aesthetic looks, you know, it's kind of up to you how you then manage that. But if you're coming to me, he was asking for best advice, I'd have to tell you, okay, to be very accurate, to understand calories, to understand what foods have high calorie, low calorie, I would suggest logging your calories, logging your foods, monitoring your calories in, calories out. I can't really get past that if I'm going on the most accurate way to monitor, you know, a weight machine, for instance. If you wanted to trim up, lose some weight, and when we say lose weight, what we really mean is to lose fat, right? And preserve muscle. You don't want to lose weight. We're going to change hands. You don't want to lose weight, right? Imagine this. You lost 5 kg. But of that 5 kg, you lost 4 kg of muscle and only 1 kg of fat. For instance, this does happen, by the way. Probably not the most efficient way that you've lost weight, right? Most people want to have some nice lean muscle. So, the way in which you lose the weight and the parameters you put in place when losing that weight will become important. But this video today is saying, ideally, log your calories, right? You go through the process and the experience, of understanding the calorific value of food. And you do that by logging. You do that by logging your food. Yes, it might be a little bit tedious. I get it, you know, but like anything in life, whether you've got a job, I'm sure you had to study, so you might have to do a degree or something to get qualified, you know, and that's what calories are. That's what understanding calories are. You know, you learn a bit about it, but it's an active thing, right? Straight from the off, you can start experiencing what it's like to log your food, and that experience will then show you the types of foods you eat regularly, the types of foods that have a high calorific value, a low calorific value, and foods that actually give you energy and don't. And it's a kind of like, as you start logging and as you start realizing what you're doing to your body, you start recognizing, where you're making mistakes. Because essentially, most people, unfortunately, struggle to, manage their weight efficiently. Most people, I'd say, don't have the physique that they'd ideally want. They might have accepted themselves, which is cool, but this video really is just saying, when it comes to food, if you really want to get a grasp of it and understand it and be able to have a good foundation, when you start talking about other things like macronutrients, your carbohydrates, proteins and fats, and whether you should eat carbs, too many carbs, high carb, what that does to your body, how much fat is healthy, heart health, protein for protein synthesis to help your body, your muscles to recover, and all that. Slightly more technical. It's not that technical, but that's the second stage. I think you can go straight into that, but you're missing a big trick. You're missing the foundation, and going through a process of logging calories is the best tool to understand food and to understand, how you're going to go about achieving your fitness goal. I've logged on and off, depending, but when I first started doing this, I logged for maybe 3 years. Don't get it twisted, not every single day. Sometimes you might be out and it's hard to get the calorific values of foods, but there's so many resources now. I use MyFitnessPal just because I'm used to it. That's a tool that allows you to barcode certain foods. Say you're out, you go to the supermarket and you pick up a Snicker. You can literally just put your MyFitnessPal app on the barcode and it will log it into your app. And with tools like this, it makes it much easier. A little bit harder when it comes to food that you cook from scratch. But whoever's cooking your food, you might have to have an hour or two, or if they're quite good, they can tell you the amounts they put in. But you look at the ingredients they put in the food to make it, and you're trying to work out what percentage you are having of that food. The thing with this is, it scares a lot of people. And the reason it scares a lot of people is because emotionally, we are attached to food, right? Food has an emotional element to it. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Like, food is meant to be emotionally enjoyable, right? But there's a lot of guilt, and sitting for a second, there's a lot of guilt around eating patterns, emotional eating. When you're stressed, we tend to eat more high sugar, high salt foods because we're looking for stimulants, we're looking for almost excitability in the body. And that's why when it comes around to logging food, somebody or people, it can emotionally affect them. And that's the work. And it always comes back to it. The work is always going to be managing yourself, getting in touch with your deeper self, regulating your nervous system, because it's going to transfer into all walks of life. This video isn't about that. right? But it's always going to come back to that, you know. And as we go through the videos, I'm almost warming you guys up, like, you know, it's like being in a relationship, yeah. You don't just dive straight in there, guys, especially, you know. This is like the foreplay. We're lubing you up a bit, right? Getting you used to certain factors about life before we go for the profound stuff. And I've touched on the profound, but you know, life's kind of a 360, right? Mind, body, soul. So we're gonna tap into everything a little bit, but the highest calling is I'm gonna show you guys some stuff that I think is pretty profound and that will change your life. Calories in, calories out, energy balance, log your food. It is important. You don't have to. This is the caveat. I know I always do this, but it's the truth, right? Like, I said all of that, and I'm going to give you the slight paradox. If you don't want to do that, then don't fucking do it. Don't do it, and you can then maybe eat whatever you're eating and, you know, see how your weight loss goes. Be more mindful of what you eat. Yeah, maybe eat less, you know, eat a quarter less than you're normally eating. That's a quick fix to lose some weight. But that is another way to do it, because a lot of people are a little bit lazy to put a little bit extra time to actually calculate your calories. This is a far nuanced topic, and there's more layers to this. And the take-home message is log your food, calculate your calories in, calculate your calories out, do that for a long period, and then you will start understanding the value of foods, how many calories you burn, and if you've got a goal of weight loss, or it could be muscle building, you will have a good understanding on how to manage that goal. Much more accurate than any other way. That's the truth. And there are other ways, and I will share them in future videos. But calories in, calories out, understanding that process, experiencing that process is magic. It might be tedious, but in the end, you'll get the results that you would desire. Comment, like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you all in the next video. Love you all.
Struggling for answers?
Confused about training?
You need someone who's been there.
Someone to guide you.